Before we started, we would like to thank Madam Francisca as our supervisor, as well as Yosafat and Madam Yovita as our examiners today. Now we will explain about our translation final project report. We will start on the background. Next. Humans as social beings require communication in order to interact with others. This is due to the fact that communication is the exchange of knowledge both with words or spoken, verbal, and without words and unspoken, non-verbal. Therefore, verbal communication becomes the basis for student translators to translate. In this world, people speak different languages. This difference makes every human being must understand one another. Therefore, the humans need translation to help them understand in the Willows, because this classic book, therefore the translation of the book this time is intended for young adult readers with the full version. This translation project is the first experience for student translators. So with this, the book The Wind in the Willows was selected for translation.
The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Graham, first published in 1908, has sold over 100 million copies and printed over 250 editions in various versions. This book tells about the exciting adventure of four animals and the value of friendship and the meaning of life, so that all ages can read this book. The classic storybook has been published by the Mada Books publisher, which is Rini Nurul Badaria, translated in 2010. By doing the translation, student translators can convey the message that the author wants to bring to the reader regarding the journey experienced by the characters. Next is the summary of the original text. This book is divided into 12 chapters, and 4 chapters will be translated by student translators. These 4 chapters to introduce the personalities of the characters in the classic book. Next.
The challenges of the original text. After translating the book entitled The Wind in the Willows, student translators discovered several problems, such as number one is lexical differences. According to Sumarni, 2016, lexical meaning is as a lexical unit of a language. A word can have multiple meanings. A word's lexical meaning does not have a one-to-one link with another term in another languages. Languages also have different meanings. As a result, translators must be mindful of language-specific meaning changes. For example, "Now look here, Todd," said the rat sharply. Nah, dengar kata tikus air dengan tajam.
Next challenge is the text contains a classifier. For example, so this is a river. The river corrected the rat. Jadi ini adalah sebuah sungai. Sungai tikus air membenarkan. When in the process of translating into Indonesian, student translator discovered some words that cannot be interpreted when translated into Indonesian. Because in Indonesian does not require definite articles or and indefinite articles. Therefore, the classifier belongs to the category of lexical differences. Next is cultural differences. According to Sumarni in 2016, cultural differences are differences in world views that are reflected in language. This book informs readers about British society cultures, particularly in social matters and communicating with others. For example, I wouldn't have gone without you, and then I might never have seen that sunbeam, and that thunderbolt. Aku tidak akan pergi tanpamu, dan aku tidak akan pernah melihatnya. Yang menawan itu, sinar mentari itu, halilintar itu. Next is metaphors. In this book, the student translators discover several sentences that sound unnatural in the target language. For example, when the floods are in February and my cellar and basement are brimming with drink that's no good to me, and the brown waters run by the best bedroom window, or again when it's all drops away and show patches of mud that smell like plum cake. And during the process of translating metaphors, student translator need to understand the culture of the target language as well as the source language to be able to interpret them correctly.
Next challenge is translating poem. In this book, student translators find rhymes, especially in song parts. For example, all along the backwater, through the rushy stall, ducks are dabbling, up tails all. Sepanjang air yang dibendung, melalui arus yang cepat, para itik tertantang, kayu terus pasti dapat. When translating a poem, student translators not only interpret directly into the target language, but also find connections in rhyme and culture between the source and target language. This is done to ensure all aspects of rhyme as preserved and the text can be read and enjoyed regardless of the source language. Next, translating title of the book. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds in a sentence. In this challenge, student translators found the alliteration in the title of the book. For example, The Wind in the Willows, Embusan angin di pohon dedaluan. Translator students also need to understand the culture of the target language in order to interpret book titles clearly and understandably. Last, particular dialect. Dialect is a language variant that differs significantly in grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation. In this challenge, the text uses a particular dialect style. For example, Hulo mole, said the water rat. Hulo rat, said the mole. Halo tikus tanah, sapa tikus air. Halo tikus air, sapa tikus tanah. Dialects in the source language can be translated with many meanings in the target language. From this example, Hulo is translated into waduh according to the condition in the book. Therefore, a particular dialect is included in the category of cultural difference.
This is the translation strategies. Student translators need every method or strategy to understand and translate source language text into the target language. In other words, student translators do not simply summarize a text into new writing. Instead, a translator must be able to facilitate the proper communication of the messages contained in the source language into the target language. There are 2 techniques and 5 methods that will be employed, such as first, semantic translation. This method is used to understand grammatical problems. For example, don't you think any more about it? And look here, I really think you had better come and stop with me for a little. Jangan kau pikirkan lagi dan dengarkan. Aku berpikir sebaiknya kau datang ikut denganku untuk beberapa waktu. Student translators employ the semantic translation method in the words look here and little time. This is because of the words can also means lihat dan sedikit waktu. Student translators attempt to make the translation more understandable by translating the words above according to the situation rather than word by word. As a result, translation into the target language become look here with the meaning dengarkan and little time with the meaning beberapa waktu.
Next, free translation. By using this method, student translators hope that the text will be understood, that the point of the word will be conveyed correctly. For example, well, good night, your fellows. This is the real life for a gentleman. Talk about your old river. Nah, selamat malam teman-teman. Inilah kehidupan sejati makhluk terhormat. Bandingkan dengan sungai tuamu. Next, idiomatic translation. This method helps student translators explain the intent of the search language, but with a meaning that can be understood by the target language. For example, now look here, you thick-headed beast, replied the rat. Sekarang dengarkan, kau binatang berotak udang. The translation of the book Thick-Headed Beast, which should be binatang buas berkepala tebal, into binatang berotak udang, shows an awareness of the culture of the target language. This is due to the fact that student translators want to make words or sentence with harsh meaning, such as stupid or dumbass, friend liar, to read while maintaining the impression of anger. Next, description. This technique is used when a term in the search language does not have an equivalent term in the target language. For example, Comfrey the purple hand in hand with the white crept forth the tag its place in the line, and at last one morning the diffident and delaying dog rose stepped delicately on the stage. Bunga comfrey ungu bercampur putih merambat untuk ambil bagian dalam barisan, dan pada suatu pagi, bunga mawar yang malu-malu dan lambat melangkah dengan hati-hati di atas panggung. The description technique is used to fully and precisely describe the meaning of a word or metaphor phrase in the translated book.
Next is adaptation. This method has chosen by student translators in order to translate poems in the text. For example, duck's tails, drake's tail, yellow feet a quiver, yellow bills out of sight, busy in the river. Itik betina ikut, itik turut, kaki menari biur-biur-biur, dimanapun mereka asik mencebar-cebur. Student translators translated the word quiver, which actually means getar, to be pure, to adjust the song which show that the ducks are dancing on the water. Next is free translation method is used to solve the challenge of translating the title of the book. For example, The Wind in the Willows, Embusan Angin di Pohon Dedaluan. The title of books are also translated using the free translation method. The rhythm of the words winds and willows in the title is preserved in the translation of this title, which is presented as Embusan Angin di Pohon Dedaluan. Next is variation. Technique will be used to solve specific dialect problems. And for example, then the mole heard him saying quietly to himself, "Hulo, hulo, here is a go." Means, kemudian tikus tanah mendengar dia berucap pelan pada dirinya sendiri, "Waduh, waduh, bagaimana ini?" When translating hulo-hulo words using the variation technique, student translators should look and study this term from the culture of the source language, so student translators can interpret it precisely and adjust to the circumstances. Next.
Concluding remark. In order to translate this book, student translators employ 2 techniques and 5 methods, which are as follows. Descriptive techniques help explain in detail sentence or word that contain metaphors. Variation technique, solving problems in certain dialects by adapting words that contain cultural elements. Semantic translation method to overcome the problem of lexical differences. The free translation methods used when translating source text. The idiomatic translation method used to solve the problem of cultural differences. And last, adaptation method is used to solve problems in translating poem. All techniques and methods employed by student translators are effective in helping translation.
To improve the translation process in the future, student translators should be able to understand and study literature and translation method and techniques. This will make it less difficult for student translators select translation as their final project. Next is the translator's profile. And next is the link and the barcode of the original text. Thank you for your attention.